Marx, I think, felt that competition was neither good nor bad in itself. The important question was, what was competition about? And I would follow that position. If we want to compete in the Olympics, if you want to compete in a chess tournament or a dance competition, competition seems to be, quite benign in many circumstances and quite thrilling to engage in. So one doesn't want to say all competition is bad or get into the idea that socialism is a world without competition, because no, the competition would be there and could obviously be organized in very benign ways. Wouldn't it be nice, for example, if cities competed with each other in terms of the efficiency of their health service and how well they dealt with the pandemic and so on and so on? In other words, competition there are all sorts of healthy forms of it and good forms of it. And we therefore have no reason to damn it to hell, as some socialists do. So what this suggests then, however, is that we should be very careful in saying competition about what? And clearly in the economy, it's competition for economic advantage. And that is where the problem comes from. And competition for economic advantage is crucial, because that is where, as I've already mentioned, the dynamism of capitalism comes from. That is why competition forces capitalists to employ workers in certain kinds of ways. For example, if a benign employer decided that they would like to offer workers a lot of money for a sort of 3-hour day, and that person comes up against competition with somebody who offers very little money with a 12-hour day, then clearly the second one wins and the first one loses. So that this is where the coercive laws of competition come in, that it forces certain employment practices, even against individual capitalists' will. And this was, again, one of the points that Marx and actually even Adam Smith and Ricardo made, that competition forces the abstractions of capital to become real within the production process and within the market. So there's competition between capitalists in terms of driving down wage rates and driving down input costs. And what this leads to is, of course, a great deal of extractivism with respect to raw materials and all the rest of it coming into the production process, and competition between producers for cheaper and cheaper inputs, competition between producers for cheaper and cheaper labor supplies. Those kinds of things start to enter in. So the coercive laws of competition then operate in all of those areas, operate in the market, they operate in production, and they operate in terms of what capitalists purchase in the way of inputs. Capitalism as a system, and capital in general, is supposed to be about competition. But capitalists themselves hate competition. Capitalists themselves want to become monopolists, because if you're a monopolist, you have an easy life. You just continue producing, and you can charge whatever you want, and it's an easy kind of life. There may be an interest in some innovation, and you kind of figure that you've got monopoly power over this drug. Well, you may as well research and get another drug and another drug. So yeah, there's some incentive for innovation, and there may be innovations in terms of production apparatuses and production mechanisms and so on. So it's not as if innovation entirely disappears, but the intensity of the innovation, of the sort that Marx had in mind when he talks about the coercive laws of competition, is clearly lessened. But it re-emerges in these different forms. That is, inter-capitalist competition between, say, the big energy companies, the competition between the big auto companies, the big pharma companies, and so on. The competition is still there, but it's a form of monopolistic competition or oligopolistic competition. But it has to be an understanding in which the coercive laws of competition are understood and analyzed more clearly. And I think this is important because Marx himself, at various times in his writings, said that he had the ambition one day to write a book on competition. That is, he thought it was important enough to deal with the mechanism which was the enforcement mechanism needed careful attention. And so what I'm suggesting is that all of us should think about the enforcement mechanism and think about how the coercive laws of competition actually work in particular situations,